Okay, so I grew up sleeping in a pyramid. Stay with me. I had an aunt that was a medium, or that is a medium. She's not dead. And for as long as I can remember, my whole family, whether they were in Mexico or here in the United States, would call her over any minor complication in their life. Literally, any unfortunate event, they would call her. Because she just had the sauce. Because she's just this special person that knew stuff. And we all call her La Bruja because that's Spanish for the witch. Because she somehow knew what was going to happen. If she tapped into your energy with you allowing her to, her medium into tapping into you usually was water. So let's say, for example, you call her up, hey, I'm feeling like this, this just happened, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about it. She's like, okay, go get a cup of water. So you're like, okay, you got your cup of water. And then she's like, okay, now blow into it. Each person was different. So her directions was slightly different for each person. So the number of times you would blow into the cup was different. What you had to repeat in your head was different. Sometimes I remember, because she consulted me many times, she would tell me to repeat certain numbers or my full name. Or sometime when I was wanting to know something about someone else, she would tell me to say their name, their complete name. I don't know how many times. Each time was different, like I said. But this is not about her knowing the future or why she knows the future. That's a completely different story, and I would love to share that in another video. But in this story, I want to share with you guys the general knowledge she shared with everyone so that they could help themselves. And this is how I know this is pure gold, because her answer was always telling people, okay, I can give you this much information, but you have to understand that how you live it is up to you. And how you live it is going to be completely determined by your choices. And your choices are going to be determined by your condition. Keyword condition. Remember this. Keep that at the front of your head, because this whole story is going to revolve around your human condition. So, however she gained this ability to tap into other people's, I guess, library, their consciousness, their awareness, really their whole being, was only one part of this whole message that I'm trying to share here. Like I said, at the end of every consultation that she had with a person, she would always tell them, I can help you, but only you can truly help yourself. You're the only and truest and best avenue to reach whatever you're trying to reach. Whatever you want to call it, because I think it's the same for everyone. Everyone wants to feel good. So, how she told you to practice this feeling good was to kind of identify what barriers out of the 9 that we all have in common, but have in different levels, you had. So let me break it down just so y'all can understand better. To her knowledge, we all have 9 barriers. I will write them down because I don't remember. I'm going to have to figure it out before I post this. I only remember the ones that I had the most. And so y'all can have an idea. I'm going to share what those were. So mine were anxiety, insecurity. How do you say it in English? I don't know the word for this in English, but I basically thought I knew everything. Have you ever met someone that has an answer to everything even though it's not right? That was me. And it's kind of still me sometimes, which is fine. I'm sorry it's getting dark, but the message is what's important here, and this looks pretty cool because everything is black. But okay, she would print out these papers because she literally had so many people calling her every day, and she did it out of just the kindness of her heart to help others. But she would sometimes have these get-togethers that her friends would organize for her, which is the crazy part if you think about it. Like, it wasn't even her trying to share this to the whole world. It was her friends that would see the value in what she was sharing, that would be like, homegirl, you need to share this to other people because other people will benefit from this. And she was like, okay, I'm down. Why she didn't do it for herself is because she was too afraid. There's a moral to this story. Not the only one, but there is a moral. She had too much insecurity to share it herself with the world, which I think would be of so much benefit to everyone. And she says this all the time, like, I'm just too shy to do it. And please don't let this discourage you from trying it, because it is true that sometimes the people with the best advice are the ones that least take it, or the ones that need it the most. Nonetheless, she's an amazing woman that is blessed by the universe, or whatever you want to call it. Don't let the name distract you from the message. Okay, so back to the actual message here. So in these talks that she would have, where all these people were gathered to listen to her, even though they were some random lady that they heard from a friend that had some information that could help them. I hope y'all kept up with that, because I barely did. So these people would show up to her house, and they would all sit like in a half oval, or they would just all be around her, and she'd have a cup of water, and she'd be like, okay, so this cup of water is you, the true you before you come into this earth. And then she would have Coke on the other. She would have 2 glasses. Then she would start to pour it into the water cup, right? And it would obviously get tainted. The white water would turn brown, then like black, super brown. And she was explaining how when we come into this life, we come with a condition. You come with a personality already. And then your parents' limitations, society's limitations, your friends' thoughts and beliefs, and the person that, is trying to mold you into whatever they think is the correct thing. All these thoughts and beliefs that everyone has around you starts to taint you, and you start to become less of who you are, which is that pure white water. But this water is divided into 9 barriers, right? These 9 barriers that I told y'all about, that she would write down. Well, she would print it out on a paper. And on top of every barrier, there was a bar, like a graph bar, right? And she would give everyone one of these sheets. And under each name, it kind of had different words that defined that one word. So there's 9 barriers, right? Under every barrier, there's kind of like a definition of this one word, and this one, and this one, and this one. So you can understand and relate to it and see if you have it or not. And most of us have all of them, just at different levels, right? And she would say, okay, everybody get your pencil and use your intuition to fill in how much of this you think you have. So let's say one bar is 100%. If you think you're about 25% anxious, you would fill it up to 25%. There was no numbers next to it. It was just, a bar, and you use your common sense. And so she would say, out of these 9 barriers, whichever 3 you had the most of, that were the highest, you're going to separate. And every day when you get a chance, you're going to repeat in your head. For example, my example, I had a lot of anxiety and insecurity and other stuff. She said, repeat, I am not anxiety. I am not anxiety. I am not anxiety. And so after repeating this many times, you're reprogramming your mind. And you're essentially, what you're doing is deleting all the old programming that's getting in the way of your program actually working to your benefit, to work for your benefit. I hope I went in order because I split the video, but when I say that after doing these mental exercises, you start, if you're consistent, and if you really do the work often, you will start to feel a weight coming off of your shoulders, and you will start tapping into knowledge that you had not necessarily knowledge, but to feelings that you didn't know you had. Feelings that you were waiting to feel for so long. And by feelings, I mean, like, I think it's more of a lack of negative feelings. You start to feel like pure joy and bliss and just peace. And I would love to go more into detail about this and give y'all more information on this, because I think we live in a society, at least in this point of where we are in the evolution of this whole thing, whenever this started, I don't know, where we are fighting with ourselves. I think we have a lot of awareness and at the same time a lot of ignorance. So sometimes it's, how they say ignorance is bliss. I think we're at that point where we're fighting with the stuff we know and the stuff we wish we weren't. Like, we're too aware of ourselves to where we're getting blocked and not being able to progress, right? We're in self-judgment instead of self-appreciation.